of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello everyone. Guess what? It's Dave here, and this is Plato's Cave. Mackie is just booting up his machine. He'll join us shortly. I'd like to say I'm broadcasting out of Darkajung country. Do support the station. Do jump into the archives for free. If you like anything we say, the station's more than worthy of a donation to keep the station running. Very important. A little shout out to Conduct, Detrimental, Flippy, Killed Rev Radio, or Harmony 369, Comet, Amiga Logos. There's a lot of people. Good morning to you in the US. I know that it's 7 a.m. It's not 7 a.m. here, it's 9 p.m. on a Thursday. And that makes it a good day, because it's almost Friday. I'm going to say that right now. And if you're waking up in the US, it'll be Thursday, Friday tomorrow. Don't sweat it. I can say the same thing. It's going to be Friday tomorrow. And happy days. I wanted to just immediately say that our public transport system in Australia, specifically in New South Wales, around within the proximity of the CBD, that's a central business district, all the way out 65 kilometres out to where I live, is great. The trains are reasonably clean. The people conduct themselves reasonably well. We have quiet carriages too. Not all of them, just the front and rear. And if the train is made of two groups of carriages that join together, it's the front and back of those two groups as well. So if it's 8 cars long, there's 4 cars quiet, 4 cars where it's not quiet. But everyone is suggested to maintain an element of decorum on the train so that everyone can enjoy the ride. Well, let's just say that's not what happened tonight. I'm not saying it's anything to do with Transport New South Wales or anything like that, but just understand how crazy it can be when the train has to stop to ensure everyone's kind of paying attention, like your father might have done on a long trip if you were mucking up, or your brothers and sisters were mucking up and they go, "Oh, I'll turn this car around if you don't be quiet." Kind of like that. So there were some young persons in their teens making a lot of noise. They had an app that you could play music on one phone, and through another phone you could play out the same speakers with your, like, a microphone, and you could add effects to it. I thought the tech was pretty cool. What do I care? I got teenage kids. That doesn't faze me at all. They're going to make a lot of noise. Now, there's a lot of people who didn't like that noise, and there was a lot of people that didn't like the mess they left behind. They dropped a big, like, fruit basket of diced fruit for them to eat. They dropped that. Then they were running up and down and then locking each other in the toilet, and a whole bunch of things were going on. They were making a racket and bashing on the doors and things like that. And so, but that wasn't the bad part, because that's kind of manageable. Just, with your headphones on, have a bit of listen to just a little bit louder music, get yourself concentrating on something, and voila, you don't need to worry about that anymore. But that's not where it ended. Then they started vaping on the train. Now, you're not allowed to smoke any substance, thankfully, but the train driver stopped the train and announced to those young people that they need to stop because all these alarms come on in the driver's passage compartment. That's what I meant. And that announces, and that announcement to those young people to stop the vaping and stop the carrying on, that we thought that was what the stopping was about. But no, that wasn't to be. I saw a pop-up on my phone which said that the station before mine, and for the next 5 stations, they were going to run buses around a police matter that was going on. So I don't know what time I left. I just got home now. It's like 3 hours. Yeah, three hours. It's normally a 2-hour door-to-door, which is like an hour and maybe 35 minutes on the train, and the rest of that time is walking either end or thereabouts. But it wasn't to be, and there was a police matter of a person who was attempting self-harm or threatening self-harm, and they wanted to run the trains only up to the station before, then run buses around the incident and then join them back up. And it's quite a long run. I think it's only like halfway along the full run of this train line. And you've got to imagine how long that is. It's quite a ways. And the train was pretty full, but they stopped and everyone had to get off. And then suddenly they've been able to isolate this guy, the guy threatening self-harm. He climbed some tower. So, great. So now we're all back on the train again. And it's an extra hour and a bit, I think it was, for me to come home tonight. And I just made it in the door, sat down, configured all my apps and did the thumbnail and everything. And voila, here we are. But what was funny was, while we were waiting, the conversation was all the previous incidents that, this train line's suffered, hasn't it, over time, and, everyone's memories of some incident from time to time. And I recalled the time the goods train broke down and we were stuck. They didn't have a way to get around it, you see. It's only 2 train lines, one way, and the other way. Do you know what I mean? One either way. So there wasn't a way to switch rails, so we had to wait. Then they ended up backing out all the trains back to where we came from and emptying them, and then buses were replaced, trains, and that's just, you call your boss and go, I'll work from home or do something, right? I'll take the day off. That was before 2019. Then I was behind a train that caught fire. It's one of the new trains. It made the news at the time, but really not much. Just local news. Then there was these other guys that said, I remember this time, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's pitching their historical memories of how this train line was. And then I also confessed that my boss was so tired of me being unreliable because of the trains, they gave me a company car to take home at night. And that was great for a little while, until I was behind a truck on the freeway that caught fire. And then the emergency services, was the very next car. Like, we couldn't get out. Everyone was too afraid to get near. It was a huge fire. It was like a B-double that it was covering hay or something. The whole thing it burned to the ground. That's what happened. And they're going, you were there. And I go, yeah, I was there. And I go, I think the problem's following you. And then they all had a laugh, and I thought it was funny. I've got thicker skin than people normally realize. And I don't really care if you want to laugh at my expense. I'm happy with that. If it makes you happy, fantastic. Well done, you. And so, yeah, I'm not about to rouse on them or get angry, because there's no point, right? I don't even know these people. And their day just got better. So, anyway, so they're laughing there. And when I got off the train, the train ended up going, and they didn't replace it with buses. And an hour later, the guy's still up this tower thing, probably like 40 or 50 yards tall, right? And he's about halfway up. And I parked my car at the station, and I drove really slowly up to where the police operation was going on. And I said to them, do you mind if I just sneak by, you know? And they go, hey, yeah, sure, man, just go past, it's fine. So that's what got me to this chair, to this right now, to you tonight. And, you know, up at 5:30 and home at 9 o'clock, that's a day. I'll tell you, that's a very long day. Wow. Even the city today, Sydney City had, the South region had power failure today. Yesterday, there was a power failure that was most of the northwest of Sydney. I've got to say, and I have to say this, renewables are not going to save anybody from anything. There isn't enough of it, number one. Two, base load, very important. If you think batteries are going to help, you could use the solar or wind to pump it up. But I know that it's been cloudy and there's been no wind on the same day at the same time. So you can't have everything at once. But I think because we're just continuing, our local government and our state governments are just adding more electrical devices to the network. They're not making any more power. It's the same amount of power, now with more draw. That's, I think, the term for it if you're interested in electrical things, all things electrical. I remember seeing that post where there was a guy at a town hall talking to the government or something, local government in America, like a local council or whatever, the town, and he proposed that he was going to put, he was trying to apply to have EV trucks and, you know, run these trucks that all be using the power from the local area. Fantastic. Seems like a good idea until when they put the application on into the local government, and they said, well, that's more draw than the current existing town. This one building powering these trucks to charge them up is more draw than the entire town. And people don't think about that. They have no concept of the amount of power that's required to charge something that's only going to last a couple of hours. It's insane. It's such a lot of power. I think we're so close. I think that EVs are good, except the batteries that we use to move them around are too big and too heavy. There's not enough kilojoules of energy stored by kilogram of weight. You think about that for a minute. So the EV battery is very heavy and doesn't have an extraordinary amount of kilojoules of energy, joules of energy, but kilojoules is thousands of joules. Whereas fuel that we use has, was it 90 times the amount of kilojoules stored in less weight? It's nuts to think that, you know, that's the way we have to be in the future. I reckon that if we were able to power them without the batteries, to power them in a way that was sustainable, I would then probably buy one. If we had a little nuclear reactor, I'd buy one. You only need something about the size of a shoebox, which would be enough power for, you know, it's got to be a reasonable device, right? But that's all you'd really need. You don't need, you know, the ultra amount of amps, you know, 100 amps or whatever it is, to go across the motors to accelerate like ludicrous speed in a Tesla. You just need to get about. So if that's all you would really kind of need, then we don't need all those big batteries. And then for the power that's needed to make it go fast, doesn't have to be as strong because you're not moving such a heavy weight. And then you can see how that evolves into a very nimble, light little machine, just electrically powered. Some of the best innovation in electrical motors is now. It had been stagnant for such a long time because there was no need. We weren't trying to make them lighter, faster, better, more, kilowatts of energy coming out, or horsepower of energy coming out. We weren't interested in that. We knew we could just brute force it with tons of amps. And it could be any weight because they were tied physically to a power outlet. But now that we've got innovation occurring because we're trying to make them smaller, lighter, more powerful, just like Dyson revolutionized the vacuum cleaner and the vacuum cleaner's motor, then it changed everything. I can see that Meki has joined us. Meki, welcome to your show.
Thank you, sir. Ha! 45 minutes. That's how long it took me to get on Discord.
Rookie.
45 minutes. Rebooted. Yeah, those are rookie numbers. At least we're not chiseling into tablets anymore.
It took me 3 hours.
What
to
is
get
it?
home
Is
from
it something
work,
I
Meki.
said?
It took me 3 hours to get home. There was a man threatening self-harm, and he climbed a tower at my station. Yeah.
Of course he did. Of course. What other station could he possibly choose?
One just past mine? No. I've just been talking about a few things, so I'll just let you run with whatever you want.
Oh, look, I don't know what you covered. There's just a few things that I found interesting. I spent a lot of time looking at a whole bunch of, but I spoke about that on Tuesday, a whole bunch of snipers and gunnies and Marine Corps people and Green Berets and Alpha Force, da-da-da-da-da. And there's one thing that is clear. The story is anything but straight.
That's right.
There are so many conflicting theories. You've seen it, right?
Oh, yeah. And the photographs of the guy don't even match the
Well,
stairwell.
That's the thing. So, yeah, there are a couple of things I want to say here. One, I don't think they've got the shooter. That's number one. Okay. Mm-hmm. Number two, I'm not sure how or who or what did it. I do know though that he has 3 names. He's got a middle name. Did you know that?
No.
He does. He has a middle name, just like all the other patsies. Tyler Robinson. It's actually on Wikipedia. He's already on Wikipedia, believe it or not.
Does he have a copy of Catcher in the Rye?
That would be a very interesting question. I would say probably.
Real killer,
Tyler,
yes.
Okay, here. Tyler James Robinson. Tyler James Robinson. That's him. Okay. So he's got a middle name. Okay, Kash Patel. He's funny. But he's also lying through his teeth.
Yeah.
If he ever gets out of government, if he loses his job or whatever, the administration finishes, he has no credibility left with his
He'll be
base.
pushing a cart around on the curb full of his own effects.
I really hope the American people don't forgive him, like the MAGA movement, because he has been lying and he doesn't want to disclose, and they're twisting and they're turning. Oh, we released this, we didn't release that. And like I said before, in the Trump administration, it's attack, attack, attack. Mm-hmm. That's all they know. And lie. Attack and lie. Those are the things they're good at. Those are the things.
That's a good combination.
Do relentlessly when you don't have to. Yeah, and he said, Donald Trump said today that King Charles III is a good friend of his. They hang out, go fishing. Those 2 guys couldn't be further from each other from a philosophical, ethical, any political point of view.
Mm-hmm.
King Charles is actually very much into non-drilling, whereas Donald Trump is drill, baby, drill. That's what he does. But that's neither here nor there. I tell you what, though, Australia is not doing too well in the Pacific at the moment. I wonder, and I do wonder what's going on, because two treaties now, Vanuatu and Papua New Guinea, have now not been ratified, even though everybody said they would be, but they haven't been. So I wonder if what else is China just making a better offer, or someone else? But
it's a race to the bottom. Of course they are. I mean, yeah. So we went there to try and smile our way through it, just like the ABC reporter in front of Trump went to ask the question. Then he goes, "I don't like you. I'm going to talk to the next person who's also Australian accent."
No. What he said was...
I know what he said.
Go, keep talking.
Oh, no, you take it.
All right. What he said was, "Oh, are you from Australia? Oh, okay. Well, I don't like you very much. Your leader's going to come and see me. I'm going to tell him about you."
That's right.
I'm going to tell him about... Come on. What? Oh, whoa, you better give me back my crane and my Tonka truck. I'm telling you, your mom is going to come soon. I'm telling you. What's this? What is this? What is this, Dave? What is this?
Do you know, Meki, if you could watch someone in real time, tumble into autocracy.
Oh yeah.
Is that what we're seeing?
No, it's not tumbling. That's not. Wait. The American people have been pushed down the stairs.
Throw mama from the train.
Yeah, pretty much. That's yeah. Look, and the funny thing is this. Well, it's not funny. Now, this is the first time that I know of a president in the United States has interfered in business, in entertainment,
everything.
In the media. Okay, yeah, that's probably better. Everything. Than Donald Trump. No one has ever done as much as Donald Trump from a point of view of interference, and that goes from taking a stake in Intel. Oh, they have to pay some kind of tithe to the king. Yes, your king, your majesty. It's a nice patch of dirt. I'm not a woman.
Some lovely filth over here.
My name is Dennis. No, but truly, it is a very strange situation, because Steve Colbert is in his last season, and arguably that's because the parent company wanted to get a deal through, which Trump would have blocked if they hadn't taken Colbert off the air. Okay, I think. Well,
that's fair. Kimmel just got canned on air.
Kimmel got canned for something he said vis-a-vis Charlie Kirk, but I listened to all of it. In fact, I watched it when it came out first, but I listened to it again. He didn't say anything that couldn't be fixed with an apology the next day, like they normally do. Let's say they make a mistake, and what happens is, oh, look, I made a mistake, blah blah blah. Because what he said is,
that's a retraction.
Yeah, exactly. The MAGA movement is doing the utmost to make sure that the assassin is definitely not one of them, etc., etc. Whatever, and of course, clearly, he's not MAGA at all. But we can talk about him in a second. But it wasn't anything inflammatory. It wasn't anything outrageous at all. And now he hasn't been cancelled. He hasn't been fired. They've just put him on hiatus. Okay, it hasn't been cancelled yet. But the FCC, and this has never happened before. Like, we're living in the age of never happened before, or once in 1,000 years, or that's the age we're living in. It's
the once in 1,000 years pulled from television.
I know it is. We have never, like, this is the age. It's
if
not
you're
just
anyone
nature,
but Doug Mulray, you're stealing my bit.
I know, right? But
he didn't make it past the first ad break. I watched it live.
I didn't know that. Oh, so we should tell. Doug Mulray was an Australian radio show host, but then he had a television program, and the television program was pulled by Gary Becker faster than you can say. Boop. It's like it went to test screen. He just didn't come back. Like, what happened? We pulled him. What? Yeah, that's what happens when you. But at least he wasn't the prime minister, right? It was his station, so he could do what he wants.
That's right.
No, but the FCC threatened to pull the broadcaster's license. That's
right.
But based on, and this is of course it's one of Trump's men, that's in there. But it is just I mean, I have never seen an American president controlling everything through the through the use of stooges, like all people that are anywhere that could do anything of any consequence are complete Trump loyalists. And in fact, I think that was the requirement for this administration. You have to swear an oath of fealty to the great leader. Yes, and that's it. That's where we are. And the only place, there's a couple others, I'm sure, but the key place where he doesn't have influence is, of course, the Federal Reserve, even though he's now put one of his people in. And everybody, all the governors, all 12 governors, except for one, voted for a quarter point increase, or a decrease rather, in interest rate. And the Trump guy voted for half a point decrease. Of course, it was the quarter point that came through. But this is amazing. Donald Trump has done so much in so little time. You gotta admire the speed with which he operates. But, yeah, the problem though, of course, it's much to the detriment of America and the American people. There's nothing positive. By the way, Marco Rubio went to Israel. Not a peep was said about the expanded Gaza operations or Donald Trump not being happy with it. Ukraine, the war is still going on. Russia is bombing and attacking and doing nothing. No one has done any. No one has put any sanctions in. And then Donald Trump said, "Oh, as soon as Europe stop buying gas from Russia, that's when we'll talk about sanctions or whatever." One has nothing to do with the other. No, I mean, not really. Okay, I told you before, and I'll say it again, and I hate to be right, but he will do nothing that would hurt Putin or Netanyahu. It's just not going to happen. He is so far into their pocket, it's not even funny. And I'm hearing this more and more because it's becoming more and more obvious. To me, it was obvious from day one, but I'm hearing it more and more. And this is not just from fringe commentators, Dave. I'm hearing it all over the internet now. That it doesn't make any sense. Donald Trump has to be compromised either by the Israelis or the Russians. And you know what else I heard?
What's that?
So Charlie Kirk, I mentioned this on Tuesday, but I want to tell you because we haven't had a chance to talk since then. Charlie Kirk was on I can't remember. I've watched it a few times. It's a podcast. Two people are interviewing whoever's the guest, and it's quite popular. Lots of followers. And Charlie Kirk was on there relatively recently. And this is what Charlie Kirk said. He doesn't believe that the attacks in October happened the way they happened. He's been to Israel. He said it's a fortress. You can get anywhere within half an hour.
I know.
There's no way that this slaughter would have gone on for 40 minutes or an hour or whatever it was, whatever the time was, right? It's completely impossible. So he said best case scenario, they let it happen.
That's right.
Best case scenario. And I completely agree, but I just couldn't believe that Charlie Kirk said that. And we're in complete agreement here. Now, he obviously is more on the Israeli side than anyone else, but he says it's completely unconscionable that should happen, that is just not, that's just not the way things are done. And he was very much against it, but he said there's no way that didn't happen, or rather, there's no way it happened the way they said. Right? Again, false flag, in my opinion, similar to the Charlie. And Charlie Kirk, didn't deserve what happened to him, but I do believe, as I've said before, you all know how I feel about it. We haven't seen the real shooter, and this has nothing to do with the complexity of the shot. But Tyler has not said anything at all at this point. Tyler James Robinson has not said anything. He hasn't confessed anything. They've said, oh, he confessed in a text message or whatever, right? I saw a text message. That's conclusive. No, that can't be fake, Dave, right? Text messages are completely fake proof.
It's part of one of the charges that he asked his flatmate to delete it.
Well, see, that's the thing. And then under the keyboard, there was a note and all this other stuff. None of it makes sense. And a lot of people, irrespective of whether they thought the shot was hard or not, they thought none of this feels right. And the critical thing is this. This is the most critical thing. I mentioned it again before. But again, we didn't have a chance to talk. I want your take on it. Tyler Robinson jumps off the roof with a backpack, but clearly there's no rifle visible. So he had to have disassembled it, right? Otherwise, you would see it as he jumps down. You can't hide it, right? So it might be in the backpack disassembled. Sure, let's go with that. And then he runs into the woods. Okay, now the weapons experts tell us, and they're unanimous here, that this is not a quick to disassemble rifle. Right? It's not a quick breakdown. It takes a little while, and you really have to know what you're doing, etc. I'm sure he knew that, but it would take a while. Okay. And there's also no footage with him going to the roof with the rifle.
Yeah, only walking up the stairs without it.
Yeah, so the rifle had to have been on the roof already, but okay, whatever. But then, so let's say he does take it apart again after he shoots, then he runs immediately, right? So there wasn't really any time. But let's just say he did take it apart, for argument's sake. Even though there was no time to actually do it. But let's say he did. Okay. Jumps off the roof, and then runs into the woods, takes the rifle out of the backpack, reassembles it, and throws it into the woods.
Of course.
How does that make sense, Dave? How is that in any way sensible?
He must have had an OCD. See, I don't. I can't possibly put it on the ground in pieces. I don't know. And you know what, Mickey? When things don't add up, you can't make them add up. You can't make a story that makes it right. And this is the pub test, right? That's what we call here the sniff test in America. If it doesn't smell right, it probably isn't right.
Yeah.
If he didn't, if like the what's that something Bay shooter in Las Vegas? Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
There was no footage of him taking anything to the room, and there it all was. So
somehow.
Yeah, somehow. In the same way, I'm sure that if the university had this, or college, if the college had any reasonable security system, they'd be able to have at least a week or two worth of footage that they could recall. And the stairwell had cameras in it. Well, why couldn't they see the preparation event and him taking them up? And why did he look different to the person who walked up the stairs? That's also got me. And this is the problem, Mickey. Remember, war was okay until we put cameras at inside war, or the Vietnam War. It was okay till then. And then we didn't like it anymore. The cameras told more of the truth than anyone could see. So with all the cameras we have today, what is the real truth and how can the story or the narrative that they create and then remove what doesn't fit it and then still try to propagate their version of the truth?
See, this is really an excellent question, and the answer is, of course, they just don't talk about it, because I saw this now. I've seen this a number of times. The question was asked about the rifle, right? And this was asked of Dan Bongino, if I'm not mistaken, but it could have been Cash Patel. I don't remember. But essentially, no, it was Bongino. he didn't answer the question. He started answering the question, but then he didn't. Like he just talked about something else, right? It's like a classic redirect. I mean, it's he's a politician now, I guess. But again, they've lost all credibility. I hope with their following. I hope they have. The thing that bothers me is how quickly things have deteriorated. Okay, and this is a real problem, because yes, there have always been problems, and America's not perfect. Nobody would ever say that it is, but there was some kind of civility. I do remember, and I'm that kind of boring guy that watches things like Parliament or Congress or whatever of nations that interest me. Germany, certainly, Australia, US. All of the administration flunkies, I call them now, have the same method of operation. They all shout down the questionnaire. They don't answer the question. They just talk, whatever, and they attack. They personally, they attack the senators, the congressmen and women, calling them names. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, you are the head of the FBI, and you're stooping down to calling senators.
That's right.
Which were elected, by the way, by the people, and you're appointed by Mr. Trump, names and how their careers are a sham. And I'm thinking to myself, and I look at him, I look at his face. I know people like him. And I know people like the people in the administration because I've worked with them all my life. Okay, these are psychopaths. These are people that will step over other people to get where they need to go, and they will lie and stab you in the back and smile at you while they're doing it. I hate people like that. I really detest them. Okay, because at least my life is full of them. And now, obviously, they're
Mackie, I'm going to put this out there and say, the system that we have supports them.
Completely.
100% it does.
In fact,
what happens to honest people, Mackie, what happens to honest people that have a mission that convince people that they're going to do this thing, it's going to be fantastic, look, we're going to make a change, and they get into politics and then the handbrake is pulled and then suddenly they become one of them?
Well, there's one of three things that happens to a person that goes into politics with ideals. And believe it or not, I think there's a number of people that go in idealistically, right? They want to change the world, make it better, whatever. Okay.
Peter Garrett.
That's great. Well, yeah, he's a prime example. So there are three things that happen. One, they give up. They just give up. Look, I can't do it. I'm out. They stop fighting the system and just become another pig at the trough. Okay, that happens. Or if they don't quit, okay, they don't quit, they don't join, they maintain what they have, they're usually not long for this world. How many politicians have met untimely ends through accidents or
been jailed?
Falsely accused. That happens a lot. So it happens a lot more than we think, right? And not just in third world countries, in all nations. Ask yourself how many politicians in America have met with untimely ends, especially in the Kennedy family, right? Especially look at John F. Kennedy Jr., for example. So that happens, right? Because that's the system. But it's horrendous, Dave, and it's all falling apart. I mean, what we now effectively have is censorship, complete censorship. Donald Trump controls the narrative completely. I don't know how Americans can stand for it. You can't have a person controlling the narrative. That's just insane.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the lies are so obvious. And I come back to my example when he was talking about his uncle. This is a story he was telling at some get-together about his uncle, how he taught the Unabomber, how he taught him at MIT, even though the Unabomber went to Harvard, and we didn't know he was the Unabomber until 15 years or after his uncle's death. Everything he said was a lie, and completely unnecessarily so. It was absolutely not necessary for him to lie at all, because he was just telling a story. But see, this is what I'm talking about. It is now so deeply ingrained, and I think he has somehow taken over the brains of a lot of people in his administration. If you look at what they used to say last year about him specifically, and Putin and Netanyahu, and now look at what they're saying. Trump is not acting in the best interest of America or the West by supporting Putin the way he does and by supporting Netanyahu the way he does. This is not in the West's best interest. The entire world has now found Israel to be committing genocide. Full stop. A report came out, deep report, and semantics are being argued, this, that, and the other. No, this is genocide. This is no longer ethnic cleansing. It's not this. It's not that. It's genocide. Right. America says no. Israel says no. Wow. Putin keeps bombing, keeps doing whatever he wants. Trump says, we'll have some sanctions next week. We're not going to have sanctions until the Europeans stop buying oil. He's looking for excuses to either push it out in 2 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time or whatever, or to put conditions around this. The Europeans have to stop buying Russian oil. Then we'll give them sanctions. Okay? Guys, he is a stooge for Israel and Russia. He has destroyed American influence in the world to the benefit of China and Russia. He has done that in 10 months. You're not going to get it back. America, you're becoming isolated. Okay? The tariffs are hurting the everyday person in the street. And they might be illegal, so you might have to pay them back, which wouldn't be good, right? This is insane. Look at what's happening to your country. I know I'm not in America. I don't vote in America, but I've always had a special place for America in my heart, to be honest. And I
went to high school over there, and I totally agree with you. And I think remember Lisa wrote the "America Has Lost Its Way" speech.
Yeah.
Is it ever more valid?
Look, say what you want about The Simpsons or South Park for that matter. Fleddy asked me if it's a bad thing to be isolated. Well, Fleddy, the problem is that America doesn't have enough of everything to look after itself. The reason it imports things is because it doesn't have enough of what it needs for itself. That includes foods and a vast array of raw materials. And if somebody were to attack America, right, let's say China, or China, Russia, India coalition, who would come to America's aid? Okay? And the US has not everything it needs in your own borders. No, that's not true. It simply isn't true. There's a huge amount of everything that you need to import just for America to function. Otherwise, you wouldn't import it. Okay? If America was completely isolated, it would completely disintegrate. Okay? But if you lose all your alliances, your military friendships, etc., that's it. Okay? It's a real problem. Now, who's got enough of everything? And I've been to China. I've been to America and I've been to China, right? China has enough of everything. Okay? Australia, we actually have enough of all the basics. Like we export like 5 times the amount of food we produce. Right? We've got raw materials out the wazoo, which we never use. Okay? We are exporting gas cheaper than we can consume it at home. Thank you. What's the name? Far out. That was just dreadful deal.
I would call the person a pork chop. That's all right.
Yeah, she was a pork chop, all right. But this is the problem that we're having here, right? And going forward, if the US dollar were to become no longer the currency of choice, if China and Japan sold their bonds, okay, if they sold their bonds, the American dollar would lose all its value, and that would be it. That would literally be it. Okay, because the American dollar has no intrinsic value. It is no longer tied to oil. It is the petrodollar that agreement, as we spoke about, ended a few months ago. Okay, Nixon hammered that out with the Arab oil states. So you can trade oil in any currency now. And I mean, oil and gas are coming out of Russia to Turkey, to China, to India, everywhere. They're buying it, even though there's sanctions in place. So what? No, America is it's not looking good. It really isn't. Right? This is the problem. Because I like America. Like I said, I've got my wife has got literally scores of relatives living both in the San Francisco and the Houston area. Scores. Okay. No, look, Fleddy says maybe that's just the way it has to be. Well, that's a fatalistic attitude, but maybe this is it. Maybe we're seeing America breaking down into 5, 6, 7 separate nations at the end of this. Who knows? Right. But I don't want to spend all our time.
That's right. What I just want to add to that, Meki, is that to make the machines of war that would keep America at the top relies on other countries to produce the rare materials and the raw materials in order to do that. And like I've said before, military experts around the world all agree that once a war would take place, that all of the materials handling and shipping and everything comes to a complete halt, and no one can make any of their 6th gen fighters or any of their stealth weapons. There's nothing. So you quickly deplete your arsenal, your high-tech weapons, and we'd be back to making, sheet metal World War II aircraft, because that's what we have. We have those raw materials. So it's such a shame to see America do this to itself and so rapidly. But I think there's a bigger picture here, Mackie. I keep hearing the 2027 thing, aliens and a whole bunch of crazy. People might call it woo. I don't really care. But the don't look up moment is happening right now.
Yeah.
Stop looking in the sky. Nothing you see is real. It's all just American tech, or you're misidentifying it, or what have you. And aliens this, aliens that, they don't exist. It's all American tech or whatever. I don't really care. I couldn't care less, to be honest. And Mecca, you know how passionate I am towards that whole genre. And yet, there isn't anything that they're allowing to come out that truly supports it. Yeah, we had disclosure. It came and went. They said, yes, it's this things we can't explain, non-human intelligence, and then non-human biology or
biologics.
Biologics. That's right. They love to make an expression up. So with all of those things happening, and then they still say the whole thing's bunk and no one cares. What is really going on?
Look, that's an excellent question, and a lot of movement has been happening. I don't know if you saw the sphere in South America that has been talked about. For
got hit by the missile.
No, not that one, not the video. The actual sphere that's dropped out of the sky, and they analyzed it.
Yep.
So yeah, it was just fascinating stuff. And what's his name went down, David Greer, to look at it. And a whole bunch of there's a lot of stuff happening. Obviously, Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, sorry, Stephen Greer. Skinwalker Ranch also came up with amazing finds they made this year, or last year, I should say. We don't know what they found this year yet. But it certainly is heating up. But it doesn't make the mainstream news. You see, that's what makes me, suspicious of the whole thing. Are these all just red herrings to distract us? I mean, obviously, a lot of it is a red herring. But before I go on with this, Comet, how much gold do you think is in Fort Knox? Let me help you. None. There's no gold in Fort Knox. Okay? I don't know where it went. No idea. But as soon as the dollar was untied from gold, okay, and you can't You can only tie the dollar to gold if you have gold. And America has no gold reserves left in Fort Knox. Take a look. See if they let you in. The Germans wanted to look at their gold because a lot of nations have kept their gold there. All right. Where's the gold?
And what did Fort Knox say? Germans said,
Nope.
"Can we see our gold?" "Oh no, we'll show you some gold, but it won't be your gold."
Might not be yours. That's right. Funny,
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It's like, well, why can't we see our gold? Oh, it's difficult to get to, Really?
Look, it's
what
just,
happened to the gold
time.
at the bottom of the World Trade Center, Mickey?
Yeah. Well, that's another good thing because there was a very much like the movie Die Hard. Die Hard 2 or 3. Can't remember which one. Where they would all these trucks to rob all the gold from.
I
from
love
the,
that. That's great.
And that was in New York, and that's actually what happened on 9/11. There was a bucket load of gold at the World Trade Center, right? And now there was not. There was gold, and then there was not. It didn't melt because they would have found the molten gold. Of course, that's
it's still
but
gold.
They didn't. So gone ski. So
maybe the
biggest
Anunnaki are here.
This brings us to white gold powder. Remember ORMUS, orbitally rearranged monatomic elements?
That's right.
This was one of our first shows. I don't know if anybody in the chat room remembers this, but if you electrically heat gold and you dissolve the molecular bonds and you manage to form white powder, right? This white powder actually occurs naturally as well. There's a farm where a guy actually sort of mined it out of the ground. This white gold powder has astounding properties, including lengthening lifespans, being excellent fertilizer for plants. It's just an all-around miracle material. White gold powder, ORME. I don't know if you guys remember any of that, but that hasn't been mentioned in 20 years, Dave.
That's right.
I mean, I haven't heard anything about it.
So if you heat it up, it disappears, and it gets
Yes.
it becomes lighter to the point where it hovers. The whole thing, including the vessel it's in, we started thinking about it when we discovered it, that it was the way that possibly that they were moving large stones around. We don't know. The original guy called it mufkat or mana, and it was fed in bread to the pharaohs. All of that.
Correct.
All of that seems to have disappeared.
There's a website here, David Hudson. He's the guy that had it in his land. Apparently, he's still got it.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a website selling it. He still has it. That's interesting. Yeah, but it's a thing. It's actually something that nobody's talking about anymore. So the theory is that the Anunnaki didn't really want gold for its own sake. They wanted to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Once he had changed it, its molecular structure.
Just
to
the
powder.
metallic bonds. Once you've gotten rid of those, then it just falls apart to white powder.
Yeah, and they eat it, or they ate it. So it's very interesting. So look, is this what happened to all our gold? Is this why we're so obsessed with hoarding it for the gods?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it makes no sense. I mean, it's nice to look at, and I've had gold, and I've held gold, and it's nice. It's heavy, it's shiny, it doesn't rust. It's all these wonderful things, but it's completely useless as a metal, unless it's in an alloy. Pure gold is too soft to be good for anything, right? So it's not a metal that is immediately useful for something like iron or even copper. I mean,
but we
iron
have
and copper would have
natural
more value.
affinity and are attracted to it.
We sure do.
Mm-hmm.
We sure do, and that's really the critical thing here. But yeah, look, all I want to say is that I think right now we're galloping galloping down the road toward disaster if nothing happens to change our trajectory. I am worried. And look, this is not just about Trump in America. AI comes into it, the next pandemic around the corner, who knows, false flags, all that kind of stuff. It is building up. There's a lot of unrest in the world. People are taking advantage of the change in the world order. There's a shift, and people are taking advantage. Okay, there's not a chance that Netanyahu would have done what he did if someone else had been in power right now. Right?
There's music.
You can always, you can fight back, but what he's doing now is not acceptable. Anyway, this has been Plato's Cave. Please come back to this station at the latest on Sunday when you get Chinese Side Out. Stay around though for now, because something else is going to come up. But in the meantime, Dave,
be safe, everyone.